Here we go. Welcome in.
Touchdown.
Nothing in front of them.
Nobody.
The end zone. And the Eagles are an extra point away from taking the lead.
That was CBS, I believe, right? Eytan Eagle.
Eytan Eagle.
Charles
Yes.
Davis. And look at this. The crew from PhillyVoice Sports Bets has joined us for post-flight. That below is Matt Cherico. Above is Harry. Harry has been on this show, I think, at least once, if not a couple of times. So we welcome you in. The Philadelphia Eagles are 9-1. And yeah, I'm sure a bet or a missed bet will slide into the conversation with the three of us here, but it's more about big picture. You heard about just now the touchdown from Jalen Hurts. And Harry, you mentioned how it seemed as if it was almost like a Madden play. Well, just let him score.
It was like the parting of the Red Sea. I cannot imagine that defensive coordinator was actually trying to play that play. I mean, how do you not account for Jalen Hurts and his legs inside the 10-yard line? I mean, that to me, they were calling their timeouts to preserve clock. They had about 1:20 left when they were getting the ball back, which is plenty of time in the NFL to move down the field enough to get a field goal. So to me, it was almost like they were cool. Yeah, go ahead, score, because we want the ball back.
Yeah, I don't really understand. We saw Jonathan Taylor come out so run heavily in those first few drives, and then Jeff Saturday, he sees that success and he stops running with Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
Like, Matt Ryan doesn't have the arm to lead you to victory anymore, and you just don't use your best skilled player. That really just didn't make sense to me.
And he can't escape pressure. I mean, he's like a statue back there.
And they kept asking him to drop. I'm telling you, this was my column this week on Philly Voice, was going back to the beginning of the year and talking about how teams just move away from running against the Chiefs because they think that even if they establish something, at some point they're going to start throwing it. I need points. I need points. I need points. But you both just nailed it. Like, there was early success.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like they kept trying. It's not like Jonathan Taylor finished with 28 carries, right? So I don't know. This is going to be the norm now. Watch. Now, Brian Daboll, it's going to be on him. It's going to be on Matt LaFleur. It's going to be on Mike Vrabel, technically the offensive coordinator down there. But, it's going to be on all of these guys to recognize that it's not that you can run on the Philadelphia Eagles. It's that you have to keep running on the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, I think he finished with 22 carries for the game.
Okay. But they were spread out. It felt like it was neglected for a little bit.
Yeah, after that first drive, he only accumulated 35 rushing yards. That's inexcusable through 3 quarters of that game.
I totally agree. You can't expect 30. How old is Matt Ryan? He plays like he's 48. I think
he's got to be in his 40s, right?
I think Phillip Rivers can avoid the pressure more quickly than Matt Ryan at this stage. But yeah, and good job out of the two new acquisitions on the defensive front, Joseph and Sue. They were wrecking the game in there. They each combined for a half a sack. They each had a half a sack, combining for 1 sack and a couple of tackles and imploding the pocket.
Yeah, man, I think the biggest thing here is guys are coming in with the expectation of playing, 40% snap, right? But you're getting gassed. You're getting a lot of gas from these guys in the limited amount. And there's still, like, at one point, Ndamukong Suh was one of the best interior defensive linemen in the NFL. Like, Linval Joseph was a maniac for the Vikings at one point, right?
And the Giants.
The Giants first, right? More so than that. Sorry, Matt. But I guess the point being is, how many times have we seen LeBron build either championship teams or teams that lose in the finals where, like, half of the bench is guys like Ray Allen, right? Like some dude who's over their prime, but at one point was the best ever at doing something.
Right.
It's just like, that's not a bad way to build a team.
Nah, these guys are ring chasing. They still have stuff left in the tank, obviously. And I mean, one thing that I noticed is how much it took pressure off of the secondary and how kind of CJ Gardner-Johnson, Darius Slay, these guys were able to kind of play their game. I mean, Gardner-Johnson had 10 total tackles yesterday. And it's really just because he was able to freely float around that secondary and do what he wanted, get his game off the way he wanted to, knowing that you have a front four like that, that's going to always apply pressure to that offensive line. And especially with the Colts, they're somewhat lackluster up front. So I really liked that matchup last night. And it was just obviously all in the Eagles' favor.
Yeah, Joseph played 26 snaps and Sue played 17.
Wow. And it may increase a little bit, but Look, if Ndamukong Suh is out there for 75% of the snaps, there's a problem.
Right.
Now, I do have to say there was one thing that kind of bothered me. And they win the game, that's fine. But it's hard for me to ignore because it never just comes down to winning the game unless people out there are going to accept it just comes down to losing the game. And I doubt that's going to be the case. So, yeah, they won the game, fellas, but two separate times on two key third down, like have to move the ball situations. Kenneth Gainwell and Boston. Now, granted, Boston Scott was a result of progression, so it wasn't like going to him. But those were the two guys that had the ball in their hands in two key third down spots. And it's hard for me to ignore that.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell that is.
Yeah, it's it's obviously by design, right?
In what sense?
Well, I mean it wasn't by accident. I mean they wanted to target those guys in those situations, right?
Well, I think Gainwell absolutely
more perplexing.
Yeah, Boston Scott was like the second or maybe like third progression or so, but it was just it was a play call that Indianapolis had seen, and it just so happened that Boston Scott was on the field there. It look, circumstances or not, it's just hard to ignore that. That's all.
Well, it's probably a trickle-down effect from not having Goddard on the field.
Yeah, I get it.
Third down situations, he's a guy that you look for, early.
Well, what about A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith or Miles Sanders? How about
Miles Sanders? Miles Sanders, I could see. Yeah.
Yeah. Right? That's all I'm saying.
I do get where Harry's coming from, though, because with young quarterbacks, I mean, we see it all the time. The tight end kind of relies as like that safety blanket for them, especially on third down, those short passes. That's where Jalen Hurts really liked Dallas Goedert. So I understand that. And I really think that if they want to move the ball consistently, they're going to have to get other tight ends involved. I mean, only one target for Stahl last night. I mean, he needs a little more volume than that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, look, this team, and we'll talk about it coming up in a second. I did want you to just hear from Nick Sirianni as far as following the game. A lot of emotions going around, although he didn't cover the damn spread, which I thought would fuel him to do that.
He was just saying that you were pretty emotional afterwards. He thought it was tied to your return here to a certain extent. Just kind of what are you feeling now that it's over?
Yeah, I'm emotional because I love Frank Reich. I really do, and he's one of the best damn football coaches I've ever been around. So, I was hoping that him and I would be able to coach against each other in this game. But he's one of my biggest mentors. I got my dad, I got Larry Karras, and I got Frank Reich. And Frank's such a good football coach. And you don't want to know what I think of if he should be here or not. But
hold on a second, real quick. What message was sent? You beat Jeff Saturday by 1 point, and you had to come from behind. So Jim Irsay is looking and thinking, wow, this Jeff Saturday guy, he nearly beat that team. Right. He nearly, you didn't send any message, Sirianni. No. You didn't cover the damn spread.
Telling Mr. Irsay that he made the wrong move is going out there and beating him 48-7.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Thank you.
It seems like Sirianni the entire time. I mean, at the end of the game, you saw him jump up on the bleachers.
Yeah, what was that all about?
Like, you won by 1 point, and you barely beat it was almost Saturday on a Sunday. Right. You're losing to Jeff 2 games, and all of a sudden the Colts have life again. So you really needed to win that. And I mean, considering you almost won by the skin of your teeth, I wouldn't be too excited about it.
It's weird. It's just a very weird dynamic. I think these guys have, for whatever reason, bought into this whole Philadelphia fan mentality thing. And there is just so much over the top. I don't want to say pandering.
Well, he's been pandering since he got here.
He has
since
been.
Day one.
And look, the team's winning.
Right.
And the guys are responding and stuff. We don't have those T-shirts anymore, right? He's not wearing a T-shirt with Boston Scott's face on it anymore, right?
I'm not
Is this somewhat of an overflow maybe from the Philadelphia Phillies? Everybody was so excited and everything was so electric around the city still. Maybe it's kind of overflowing now into the Eagles, considering they have all this momentum. I don't know. I guess I could see a little bit of airheadedness from that.
I think so. All right, that's an interesting point to raise. I don't know. Maybe we'll see how this thing plays out over the next couple of weeks because we have Sunday night we'll talk about on the way out. But let's run around this. Normally it's me and Harry or somebody here. We have the three of us so we can make this a nice, clean, easy one-on-one ratio here. Three big takeaways. We do this each and every week. Jericho, we'll start with you, Harry, and it doesn't matter what it is. It could be good, it could be bad, it could be amazing, it could be some issue in the armor, or it could be something that's been emboldened. It doesn't have any parameters or boundaries. Your biggest takeaway from this victory against the Colts?
Well, I think one thing, obviously, a victory is always nice, but I think that the Eagles really need to stop playing down to their competition. I think we saw it the first game with the Texans, and then it carried over into the game against the Commanders. They're going up against these teams like Indianapolis, aside from Jonathan Taylor, maybe Michael Pittman. Who do they have on that squad that's really intimidating you like that? That really should be a get right game for the Eagles where their offense could put up, between 25, 30 points. So I think maybe there's a little bit of concern there. But as Harry was saying earlier, not having Dallas Goedert is definitely hindering Jalen Hurts. And I think he just needs to grow past that. He's still so youthful. So he's still learning so much as we go. And I think every week, obviously, he's getting better. But coming into next week, they just need to not play down to their competition as much.
Yeah, I mean, he started to see, Hurts took it upon himself to run the ball. I mean, 86 yards rushing. And we haven't seen that in quite a while, where he's been coming under his totals pretty easily in these games. And I think that's an offshoot of not having Goddard there. He's sort of going to say, hey, I'm going to tuck it and run it. Myself to get a big first down, move the chains, what have you. That's number one. Number two, it kind of goes with what you're saying. It'd be nice to see this team finally put together 4 good quarters of football, because now you're starting to wind down here. You got Green Bay and Tennessee at home. Tennessee's going to be a real tough game for them. I think they get by Green Bay. Green Bay's got, not much left. Then they have 3 straight road games. They haven't played the Giants yet. Now, I know the Giants, I don't think the Giants are as good as their record. I've been saying it all year long. They lost yesterday at home to Detroit. But those 3 straight road games at the Giants, at Chicago, doesn't look like a total walkover anymore because Chicago's starting to score some points. And that's a tough place to play. Then at Dallas, and then they finish up with New Orleans and the Giants again. But it'd be nice to see in a couple of these next couple games where they could put together 4 consistent quarters where they've got their foot on the accelerator. That's number 2. And number 3 is it's good to see Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh have a little bit left in the tank, because I was wondering that coming into this game. It's nice to get these guys, but they're on the street for a reason. And it just showed me that they've got a little something to play for. They're hungry, and they got a little gas left in the tank.
I think they're great observations. And I think looking at week in and week out, it's going to be tough for this team to play a complete game, but the fact that they haven't and we're still waiting for it still demands that want. And look, we talked about it at the start where you're able to get guys right away, even if they're off the street, to come in. And look, I don't want this to go under discussed here, because a lot of people that are way more smarter, I guess, or following along this stuff, who have followed this guy around, will tell you that apparently, like, Ndamukong Suh's fitness and level of conditioning is legendary. So yeah, like this dude he can walk in off the street. Now Joseph's a little different and all, but who cares? Look, the biggest thing for me has been, and it's going to take, I think, a test, right? I don't know what Jason Kelsey, what Jordan Mailata, what Miles Sanders, hell, what AJ Brown, or even what Nick Sirianni truly thought, because we're all human beings. And I can tell you all the day, I love this guy, I love this. I don't know how much doubt crept in after the Philadelphia Eagles lost the game in which they did, the way in which they did to Washington. But I can tell you this, I feel like, and I would definitely bank on this, that any little doubt that crept in about, well, I don't know what's going to happen again, is probably gone, at least heading into Green Bay, because of Jalen Hurts and their ability to win that game. And that's something that is just, you cannot undervalue that. You cannot undervalue giving the ball to somebody and saying, win. I don't care how you do it, just win. And I think we've gotten into this territory now where we kind of expect that. Patrick Mahomes Sunday night. Just win. Look,
Mhm.
up until that brutal ending for Josh Allen in the end zone, it's still the same way. Lamar Jackson, like there are guys in the NFL that you can hand the football over to. Brady was one of them forever. Rodgers was one of them. And
Go
it's just,
win the game.
Just
Yeah.
win. Just win. Play football. So that's the biggest takeaway for me is that Jalen Hurts continue, and I don't care about Angelo Cataldi. I don't care about me. I don't care about us as fans. I don't care about Twitter. I don't care about anybody outside of that locker room. But I think that win was probably most important for the players than anybody else. So that would be my big one there. All right. Now, let's get out of here. And on the way out, we have one guy to talk about here. We have Thanksgiving first, and then we have Sunday Night Football. This is a long stretch. I'm going to be at this game, so I'm excited. First game for me all year that I'm going to be at. It's probably going to be cold and frigid and nasty, but you know what? I already took the Eagles -6.5 because this is come on. This is you got to bounce back.
I like the Eagles too. Yeah.
Any issues with that?
Nah, Aaron Rodgers he said we're not dead yet, but this week was definitely a nail in the coffin.
Yeah.
When you lose to the Titans at Lambeau, I mean, he just looks deflated. He's making bad passes even out there that, Aaron Rodgers doesn't typically make. His head just seems completely checked out. And I think he's toast, honestly.
And this Packers defense gave up over 300 yards passing to Ryan Tannehill. I mean, this wasn't the usual prescription for the Titans with just, Derrick Henry left, Derrick Henry right, Derrick Henry up the middle. I mean, they opened up the offense and they were able to. So that's got to be a big concern for Green Bay coming in here with this Eagles team and all their weapons.
Yeah.
All right.
Definitely.
Score on the way out?
I'm going to say 27-14 Eagles.
27-14.
34-17.
I like
Eagles.
that. I like that. 31-13, 31. I'll give you an ugly number for Green Bay. 31-16.
Okay.
All right. There you have it. For Harry Mays, for Matt Jericho, again, Philly Voice Sports Bets comes out Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Hit the thumbs up here. We're here following every Eagles game. Subscribe to the Philly Voice channel and go Birds.